Guys looking for another Big Mac right there. Thanks for inviting us into your home tonight. That's it for this special report. Fair, balanced, and unafraid. The story hosted by Martha MacCallum starts right now. And I don't know about you, Martha, but I'm pretty hungry.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they ordered a lot, because those guys probably eat about 5 or 6 cheeseburgers apiece, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
All right, good for Clemson. Thanks, Brett. Good to see you. Okay, so it is often said that in politics, optics do matter. That, for example, is why the president didn't go to Mar-a-Lago for Christmas or for New Year's this year. It's why then Governor Chris Christie was lambasted for this moment when he went to the beach when there was a government shutdown in New Jersey on the 4th of July. And that is why tonight, perhaps, New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is under a bit of fire. He went to a beach resort in Puerto Rico amid the longest government shutdown in history. Menendez and 30-plus Democrat lawmakers spent the weekend there on an annual winter retreat. They were joined by 109 of their favorite lobbyists and corporate executives. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha MacCallum, and this is the story that we start with tonight. So as the Washington Examiner puts it, that is 3.6 lobbyists for each member of the House or the Senate. The itinerary included a meeting with the governor on business, of course, and Puerto Rico recovery, all, legitimate to discuss, of course. All the meals were provided at this pricey seaside resort. They also had 3 parties for the members and a special performance of the musical Hamilton, which I think they paid for their own tickets for, as the shutdown goes on. It is now the longest in history, 25 days. The president weighed in like this.
I've been here all weekend. A lot of the Democrats were in Puerto Rico celebrating something. I don't know, maybe they're celebrating the shutdown.
All right, so in moments we're going to hear from freshman Congressman Dan Crenshaw, who has some pretty important and unique thoughts on this matter. But first, Rob Schmidt is live in Puerto Rico with the backstory on this whole event this weekend. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Martha. Yeah, beautiful Puerto Rico in January. Not a bad gig. This is more than 30 Democrats, as you said, and their entire families flown down here on a private charter plane with a whole bunch of lobbyists. This is this winter retreat by a Democratic political action committee to lobby for more money for this troubled island territory. Of course, Puerto Rico has had a lot of debt for a number of years now, and then that was exacerbated by that terrible hurricane in 2017, Maria, in September of that year. And a number of meetings took place over this long weekend, but there was a lot of free time too, and you see that evidenced here by the picture of Bob Menendez that's making its way around the internet, and he's there on the beach. Looks like having a good time. Got that golden January tan for a New Jersey senator. And today we caught up with the senator, and he didn't want to talk to us. Check it out.
You could have had hours and hours and hours of meetings if you chose one thing for an hour.
Well, no, I want to be fair. I want to be fair. I just want to ask you.
You're neither fair nor balanced.
Okay, so we had a whole number of these. We had all of them there in the same place. And a couple of them did want to talk to us. Tony Cardenas and Jerry Nadler were happy to defend the decision to come down here to Puerto Rico and have a pretty nice weekend amidst the government shutdown and all these people that aren't getting paychecks.
A lot of people would say, well, why are these politicians being greased by lobbyists in San Juan on the beach when there's a government shutdown happening? What do you say to that?
Well, I'll tell you what. It was documented. We allowed press to be there when we had close to a 5-hour hearing when we spoke. We had presentations given to us by the governor of Puerto Rico and his team. We had mayors. We had not-for-profits that have been putting their elbows and their blood, sweat, and tears into helping people survive in Puerto Rico since Hurricane Maria.
And to their defense, these Democrats did have a lot of meetings. The day today was pretty packed. They had, I think, 6.5 hours of meetings yesterday on a Sunday. So it was a busy schedule, but there was also free time, and now they're off back to Washington already. They took a 4:45 private charter back to D.C. Martha, back to you.
Rob, thank you very much. Here now, Geraldo Rivera, Fox News correspondent at large, and Ed Rendell, former Pennsylvania governor and former Democratic National Committee chairman. Gentlemen, welcome. Great to have both of you with us tonight. Geraldo, let me start with you.
Hi,
what do you think? What do you think about the Puerto Rico thing? Business or boondoggle?
Well, I think they went to Puerto Rico because that was the only way they could get in to see Hamilton, which is sold out on Broadway. It's the biggest hit in history, making $3 million a week on Broadway. I think the problem with Puerto Rico has some horrible, horrible problems left over from Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria, but the biggest problem is the systemic corruption and ineptitude of the power authority. Now, if they were serious about trying to find the root causes of what is inflicting so much misery on the poorest Puerto Rican people, that would have been a good place to start, not at the beach or, you know, watching Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did a fabulous job, raised $15 million for the cause.
I think he's raised almost $50 million for Puerto Rico. Ed Rendell, I mean, is this a good look? You know, you got the president on the other hand at the White House, and he's saying, I'm here, I'm waiting, come on in, let's negotiate. And it's not that people don't understand that these meetings are scheduled in advance, you know, but it doesn't look good, as we said at the top, given what's going on in these 800,000 federal workers.
Yeah, if it was my decision, I would have postponed the trip. Although the trip had, according to your correspondent, 11 hours of hearings, so that's not exactly a boondoggle. But the key factor here is that the House keeps passing bills that would open up different parts of the government, and Mitch McConnell won't let anybody vote on them. So why would anybody stick around Washington? Mitch McConnell won't let.
But it doesn't include any border security funding, which the president has said that's his opener. He wants people to come into the White House, sit down at the table, and negotiate. But we know that those bills don't include anything. So right now you've got everybody's backed into their corner, and I think it doesn't fly well with the American people. So let me ask you this, Ed: what is wrong? What do you think about the $5.6 billion? What do you object to in that expenditure, which is really very small?
Well, the expenditure is small. I don't think the wall will do anything, but I like Lindsey Graham's proposal. I think we should reopen the government for a 3-week period or a month period and try to negotiate. And what we should do is try to make some progress on some of the other issues that are involving immigration, like doing something once and for all about the Dreamers, legalizing their status, giving them a path to citizenship. I think if the president and Mitch McConnell were willing to consider that, I think the Democrats would allow.
I mean, I think there's every reason. I mean, Nancy Pelosi said she wouldn't discuss DACA at all, and she doesn't want to give. She says she'd give $1 for the border fence. And you were in McCallum, Texas, Geraldo, and you said you were pretty surprised by what comprised the group there, and that it was very split.
It is amazing, Martha. McCallum, Texas is an overwhelmingly Latino city of 150,000. And I found, and it's just not my opinion, this is the opinion of people on both sides of the issue, that the town is split right down the middle, 50-50, those who want the wall and those who are opposed to it. Now, I have to say that in McCallum, in 1 month, construction will start on a border wall that is already funded. Some of the same Democrats who are now opposed to even negotiating for more moral reasons the funding for the wall, the $5.6 billion, already voted for it last March in the omnibus spending bill. They voted on 84 miles of border wall, 25 miles of which will be on top of a flood levee off the Rio Grande, and construction will start next month. So where is the morality now that didn't exist then? It seems very, very disingenuous.
Before I let you go, Ed, should they argue to have that taken down, to not spend that money now that they're against it?
No, I think this whole issue is a red herring. I think if there are some things, some places on the border that lend itself to a wall or a steel slat.
Exactly.
That's exactly what the president said.
But I think the Democrats have every right to demand progress on some of the more important issues. Like what you know who's
suffering? The 1.6 million dreamers. They're the ones who are suffering. They're suffering more than the federal workers. They're suffering more than the 800,000 federal workers. The federal workers will get paid, but those dreamers that Governor, you I know sincerely care about. You care about them. The president has indicated, has given every signal that he will give them a path to legitimacy if the Democrats support him or back him. Some kind of compromise on the wall. You don't like $5.6 billion? Pick a number.
Well, it looks like everybody's back from the beach, as Rob Schmidt said. So let's get down to business here and see what they can figure out. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Ed Rendell, Geraldo Rivera, great to see both of you. Thank you, gentlemen. My next guest is a freshman congressman, along with about 70 other lawmakers. He is foregoing his congressional salary until they figure this whole thing out and reopen that part of the government. Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw joins me now. Good to see you, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
Good to be here with you.
Well, what's your reaction to this Puerto Rico trip? Big deal or not a big deal?
Well, it sounds like they had a lot of fun, you know, but they've also been talking a lot about the plight that federal workers see themselves in. And now they're not wrong about that, but if we're going to talk about that, then I don't know if these excursions to Puerto Rico are really the right way to handle that. We should be negotiating. Okay, Democrats said $0 for any kind of barriers on the border weeks ago, and they're still at $0. That's not negotiating. The president's plan it was initially a long border wall. He's come down to about 234 miles of border wall. All right, we've gone from $25 billion to about $5.7 billion for any kind of physical barrier on the border. This is very reasonable. This is a mixed, holistic approach to border security, and it's what we need to be doing.
I mean, you're one of the new guys on the block there. Are people pressuring the rest of your party the rest of the Democrat Party and the rest of the members on the Hill to say, come on, let's come together. Let's all work. Let's show up every day. Let's work on this until we can find some sort of deal.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's fundamentally what the American people want, and it's certainly what a lot of federal workers want who are not getting paid right now. Especially like, you know, I have an airport right near my district, and a lot of TSA folks are not getting paid. It's why I wanted to forego my pay and withhold it until they get paid as well. And I understand what that's like. We need to negotiate on this, and as a freshman class, we've started to reach out to our freshmen on the Democrat side and say, you know, what are you willing to give on this? Because I mean, you guys, behind closed doors,
response? What do they say?
We're not hearing much a whole lot yet. You know, it's the word wall that triggers them. They're like, well, then let's call it physical barriers. Let's call it fencing.
Yeah, you said you think that's it's silly.
Right, it's semantics, you know, and any security expert will look at this and say, you really need a holistic approach, and physical barriers are a very obvious part of that, all right? They mitigate the flow of people from point A to point B, and of course you need more Border Patrol agents, you need technology, you need drones, you need the sensors, and in some places you simply can't put a physical barrier. We realize
Seems
that.
like all sides, everybody agrees on all that stuff. I mean, yeah. You know, which makes it more apparent than ever to the American people that it's ridiculous that they can't come together on it. Lindsey Graham suggested that maybe the president should float a deal to reopen the government for a few weeks, but make it a short period of time. And if you can't work it out in that period of time, then it's another shutdown. The president's holding firm, though. He doesn't want to do that. Do you agree with the president or with Lindsey Graham?
Well, I just have to live in the reality that I live in. If the president's not willing to budge on that, then he's not willing to budge. And he has good reason. There's no indication that the Democrats have been willing to negotiate at all. There's no indication that if we had another continuing resolution that we would somehow get to an agreement and be able to negotiate some kind of funding for physical barriers. So, the president has a good point here.
So the president, there's also been a suggestion that he might use some of the money that was allocated for Puerto Rico to build the wall, because they're beating the bushes to find the money that's already been allocated in a way that they can move it over. Would you approve of that?
It's definitely not what I want to see, because, listen, if you can use Puerto Rico money, you can also use Hurricane Harvey relief funding, which is very important to us in my district in Houston. So what we would like to see, again, is Democrats coming to the table. This is a highly reasonable solution, and there's no reason why we can't solve this from Congress. This should not be something that the executive himself has to solve.
I'm curious what it's like for you to see how all the sausage is made now. You've been there a few weeks, right? I mean, are you disillusioned already, or are you hopeful? Or, how do you take all this in, given you were a Navy SEAL? I mean, you don't mess around. Yeah. You get stuff done, everybody chips in, and you complete your mission.
Right, and that's how this should be too. Now, I don't think I came up here so idealistic that I thought it was going to be easy. And I was mentally prepared for this. I knew what I was getting into, and you know what? It tells me every day that this is exactly why I came here in the first place, because we're making the right argument. We are on the right side of this, and we would like our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to just work with us. We're just asking you to work with us. Let's hear some proposals, and we will counter back, and that's how good government should run.
Good luck with that. No, I mean it.
Thank you.
Congressman Dan Crenshaw, great to see you tonight. Thanks for being here as always.
Always great to be with you. Thank you.
You bet. So this is a picture of Jamie Kloss this weekend with her aunt and her dog. Today, her alleged tormentor and the man believed to have murdered her parents made his first court appearance. Survivor Michelle Knight knows what it's like to be held captive, and she has a message for Jamie. Next.
I may have been through hell and back, but I am strong enough to walk through hell with a smile on my face. God has a plan for all of us. The plan that He gave me was to help others that have been in the same situations I have been in.
We don't know what she went through, but to survive it and to get out of it, and to beat him in his own game and to survive and get out of there, I mean, wow.
Wow is right. The joy of the Kloss family. They now have Jamie home after she was held captive in a dirty basement by a sick man for 88 days. The suspect, we saw him today for the first time, too. He was in court. He's charged with 2 counts of first-degree homicide for the murder of Jamie's parents and 1 count of kidnapping. Jake Thomas Patterson reportedly spotted the young teenager waiting for the school bus one morning, and he decided she would be the girl that he would take. He plotted her abduction, according to what the prosecutors are saying, trying twice and then coming back a 3rd time to her house when it was quiet and the moment was right. He held her in this remote cabin, seen here in photos obtained by the Daily Mail, until her magnificently brave escape last week. The case drawing parallels to that of Amanda Berry, Gina De Jesus, and Michelle Knight, who, remember this story in Cleveland? They spent nearly a decade as prisoners in a Cleveland house of horrors before they, too, managed to summon their courage and escape in 2013. Joining me now exclusively is Lily Rose Lee, formerly known as Michelle Knight, the author of Life After Darkness, Finding Healing and Happiness After the Cleveland Kidnappings. Lily, thank you so much for being here tonight. It's good to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure.
First, I just want to ask you, first of all, your name was Michelle Knight. Why did you change it, and how did you choose your new beautiful name?
It was a new beginning, a journey to a new life full of happiness and love.
And how did you choose the names?
Interesting. I love peace lilies. Peace lilies means love and pure of heart.
And you have a coffee that's Lily's Ray of Hope. That is it's charity coffee to help women and girls who have suffered abuse.
Yes.
Just remind everybody, just in the shorthand version, what happened to you?
Shorthand version, oh my gosh. I went through 11 years of torture by a man that was my best friend's father. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen to me when I first walked into that house. I just thought it was my best friend's father giving me a ride home. Little did I know I was going to spend 11 years in his house, chained to the basement in multiple areas of his house, and being abused every single day of my life.
Lily, when you look at where Jamie was, I'm sure it just brings back a lot of memories to you. What would you say to her? And will you, because I know you want to help women who've been through what you've been through, will you eventually, when the time is right, reach out to her?
Yes, I most definitely would be happy to reach out to her, or her to reach out to me. I would love that tremendously.
How do you, give us sort of the baby steps? She's home, thank God. She's with her dog, she's with her aunts. She has to get over the murder of her parents. And according to these reports, she was hiding with her mother in the bathroom. She saw her mother murdered before she was dragged out of there. She has a tremendous amount to deal with.
It's going to be a tremendous struggle for her. It's going to be really hard for her to cope with her parents being gone now and not being able to give them a hug or be able to tell them I love you. It's really difficult. And I know her parents loved her so much. And they didn't deserve what they went through. Nobody ever does. And for the people that are in her life right now, just take time, let her heal, let her do the things that she needs to do to make it a happy journey through her healing process. Make sure that, they don't push, they don't make her talk. Let her talk on her own free will. And, they will, you know, she will come to them. She will be there, you know, with open arms, ready to talk.